During the national championship match, a police dog's persistent barking at a soccer ball was initially dismissed by security officials as an overreaction. However, one officer trusted his partner's instincts and uncovered something that stunned the entire stadium. What was concealed within that seemingly ordinary ball? Before we delve into today's story, please share in the comments where you're watching from. If you appreciate remarkable police dogs and stories similar to this one, please subscribe. Don't miss future content. The autumn sun cast long shadows across Lincoln Memorial Stadium as 60,000 fans poured through the gates, their excited chatter filling the crisp Chicago air. This wasn't just any soccer match. It was the national championship final, with Chicago's hometown heroes facing their bitter rivals from New York. Amidst this controlled chaos, Officer Isaac Tate straightened his uniform cap and surveyed the expanding crowd, his practiced eyes noticing everything. Beside him, Dash, a sleek German shepherd with attentive ears and intelligent eyes, kept a precise heel position despite the intense sensory overload of the stadium. Another sweep of the south entrance, then we'll check the locker rooms again, Isaac stated into his radio, receiving a crackled confirmation from dispatch. He looked down at Dash with a smile. "Ready to work, partner?" Officer Tate called from behind them. Isaac turned to see Chief Williams approaching, his silver-streaked hair and commanding presence eliciting respectful nods from security personnel nearby. "Everything secure so far?" Isaac responded, straightening slightly. "Dash and I have completed 3 perimeter sweeps and verified all access points. We are proceeding to the field level now for a final inspection before kickoff." Williams acknowledged, his gaze turning to Dash. "Still our department's invaluable asset, I see." The chief's faith was well-founded. Last month, Dash identified explosives in an abandoned warehouse when the department's other canines had not, resulting in the apprehension of a domestic terror cell before they could carry out their plans. As Williams left, Isaac and Dash proceeded toward the player tunnel, moving with practiced efficiency through the pre-game preparations. The VIP boxes would be filling now, and the teams would soon emerge for warm-ups. As Isaac led Dash through the stadium corridors, his mind recalled their first meeting 4 years ago at the Chicago Police Department's specialized K-9 training facility. He'd been a patrol officer then, eager but uncertain about transferring to the K-9 unit after his previous partner had retired. That day, the training sergeant presented 5 German shepherds, all remarkable animals boasting impressive histories. However, upon Dash's entry into the room, a distinct difference was apparent. Whereas the other dogs vocalized or investigated, Dash remained seated, his amber eyes observing each handler with an apparent intelligence bordering on human. "This one's special," the sergeant remarked, his voice rough but laced with respect. Having completed his training at the top of his class in detection work, he has specific preferences regarding his handlers. He has already declined 3 officers. Isaac recalled kneeling to meet Dash at eye level, the room becoming quiet as they studied each other. "Hey there," he said softly. "Do you think we could work together?" To everyone's astonishment, Dash stood, walked directly to Isaac, and sat beside him, leaning against his leg. The selection had been made not by the department but by Dash himself. Just 6 months following certification, Dash and his team encountered their first significant case. While responding to a standard call concerning unusual behavior at a storage facility, Dash bypassed the apparent storage units and instead focused on a parked delivery van that appeared ordinary. His continued warnings resulted in the uncovering of a large fentanyl shipment concealed within hidden spaces, a quantity capable of triggering hundreds of overdoses. The case resulted in commendations for them, but more significantly, it solidified Isaac's complete faith in Dash's intuition. Repeatedly, when Dash signaled a problem, he proved accurate. Even when conventional reasoning suggested a different outcome, the initial players exited the tunnel to scattered applause from those arriving early, their cleats making a rhythmic clicking sound against the concrete before reaching the gentler turf. Following closely were the equipment managers, maneuvering carts filled with training gear, medical supplies, and the official match balls. Dash, having just completed a final inspection of the bench areas, abruptly stiffened. His demeanor transformed from relaxed professionalism to sharp alertness in a fleeting moment, a change so delicate that only Isaac would have perceived it. What is it, boy? Isaac murmured, observing the shift. Dash moved 2 measured steps toward the cart, his nose actively working, examining something undetectable to the average person. Isaac followed, appearing relaxed but carefully observing his colleague. The shepherd's ears were now standing straight up, his posture changing from interested to worried. "Everything okay, officer?" inquired one of the stadium security supervisors, a large man named Reeves, who liaised with the police for significant events. "Just checking something," Isaac replied, observing the equipment manager begin distributing balls for the warm-up. As the man opened the ball bag, Dash's behavior became more pronounced. His back stiffened, and his breathing pattern shifted. With practice balls laid out on the field, Dash began tracking one particular ball with unusual focus. His typically disciplined demeanor softened, revealing more insistent body language, a behavioral signal as if trying to communicate something important to Isaac. "It's likely just the scent of the new balls," Reeves offered, gesturing dismissively. "These championship balls are fresh from the factory, a special design for the final. Dogs probably detect the adhesive or something similar." Isaac nodded politely, but he sensed something was amiss. The balls may be new, but Dash had encountered soccer equipment countless times during stadium patrols. He had never exhibited any interest previously. Isaac instructed Dash and Heel, deciding to watch for a little longer before alerting anyone. The shepherd obeyed, though his focus remained on the ball, now being moved between players practicing. "Officer Tate, your radio crackled. Status report?" Isaac responded, all clear on field level, although a growing concern troubled his thoughts. Was he overlooking something? When Dash whimpered quietly, a sound he seldom made during work, Isaac chose to report the incident. "Supervisor Reeves observed that my K9 was displaying unusual interest in one of the game balls. I asked if I could examine it." Reeves frowned, glancing at his watch. "We're 30 minutes from kickoff, Tate. The commissioner and network executives are already concerned about the schedule." He implied the seriousness of the situation. False alarms at high-profile events were career-damaging mistakes. It was likely nothing, Isaac admitted, although the statement felt incorrect the instant he spoke it. "We will monitor the situation." The stadium exploded with sound as both teams ran out of the tunnel for the official commencement of the match. The referee went to the ball bag, choosing the game ball, the same one that had activated Dash's alert during warm-ups. As soon as the ball was positioned at center field, Dash's body stiffened again. His ears rose, and a quiet whine began in his throat. "Easy, boy," Isaac murmured, maintaining a hand on Dash's harness while reaching for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Tate. My K9 is still alerting to the game ball, requesting an additional K9 unit to confirm." "Tate, this is Supervisor Reeves. Negative on that request. We cannot interrupt a national championship match without concrete evidence." Isaac felt frustration growing as he observed the ball being passed among players on the field. Dash's focus remained unwavering, his head moving deliberately to follow the questionable ball, his posture becoming more insistent. "With all due respect, sir, Dash has never been mistaken," Isaac insisted. "And I've been responsible for security at the stadium for 15 years, Reeves interjected. "Unless that ball detonates or begins to release a substance, we are proceeding with the match." Isaac activated his radio to a different frequency. "Officer Aaron Vargas, this is Tate. Do you read?" A short delay passed, then Aaron's voice responded. "Copy, Tate. Could you please make your way to section 114 where I am located? I need a second opinion on something." As play continued on the field, Isaac noticed something odd. A maintenance worker in stadium uniform was exhibiting unusual attentiveness to the game, not observing the players like a fan would, but focusing intently on the ball itself. The man's gaze followed the same trajectory as Dash's, tracking the suspicious ball with unnatural focus. Officer Aaron Vargas arrived, her canine partner Rex, a Belgian Malinois, recovering well. "What have we got?" she asked quietly. "Dash has been alerting to that game ball since warm-ups," Isaac explained, pointing discreetly. "The one with the small scuff on the logo panel and that maintenance guy by the tunnel is paying way too much attention to it." Aaron studied the situation briefly, Reeves shot you down? She asked. Completely, Isaac confirmed. Concerned about potentially impacting the game's flow, they continued their discussion when a forceful tackle brought down a New York player, prompting the referee to signal a free kick. The unusual ball paused briefly, and Dash's alert demeanor heightened. Rex, check, Aaron instructed softly. The Belgian Malinois responded instantly, becoming rigid and fixating on the same ball that had drawn Dash's focus. That's confirmation, Aaron stated, lowering her voice. Two dogs, each with distinct training histories, simultaneously alerted to the identical target. This was not a random occurrence. Isaac acknowledged this, experiencing a blend of reassurance and increasing worry. The maintenance worker touched his earpiece. A communication was being relayed to him. They observed him receive this message. Then he subtly moved nearer to the location of the ball boys. He's anticipating something, Isaac stated. But what's concealed within that ball? Cleared security as expected. Officer Tate keyed his radio, contacting Captain Reynolds directly, circumventing Reeves. Captain, this is Officer Tate. We have confirmed AK-9 alert on the game ball currently in play. Request permission to implement Protocol 17. Protocol 17 was departmental code for a covert evidence seizure, a procedure developed for situations requiring evidence collection without public awareness. The captain responded immediately and clearly. The scoreboard displayed a tense 1-1 tie as halftime drew near. The suspicious maintenance worker had moved 3 times during the first half, each time bringing him nearer the officials' area where the game ball would be secured during the break. For minutes until halftime, Isaac said, checking his watch. We need to secure that ball before anyone can make a switch. Aaron mentioned that the head referee consistently brings the game ball to the officials' room during halftime. The room has 2 entrances, the main corridor and the service hallway. Rex will accompany you through the main entrance, while Dash and I will monitor the service hallway. As they completed their plan, the referee signaled the halftime whistle. The audience's noise changed as spectators went to concessions and restrooms. On the field, the referee gathered the game ball, securing it beneath his arm as both teams ran towards the tunnels. Isaac and Dash proceeded calmly through the service corridor, utilizing their credentials to enter restricted areas. They established themselves in a recess, providing a clear view of the officials' room's back entrance, Dash remaining perfectly still, even with his apparent wish to follow the ball's scent. The target was in motion. A maintenance worker was proceeding towards the service corridors, carrying a duffel bag. Aaron's voice reported in his earpiece. Within less than a minute, the maintenance worker appeared, walking with deliberate steps down the service hallway. The man's expression was calm, but Isaac observed slight indicators of tension, including slightly rapid breathing, automatic scanning of the environment, and a firm hold on the duffel bag. The worker halted at the corner, waited for a stadium employee to move out of sight, and then headed toward the official's room. Rather than going in, he stood close by, feigning inspection of an electrical panel while visibly observing the door. Within the official's room, the referee team was examining first-half occurrences on a tablet. The game ball remained on a small table, briefly overlooked as the officials discussed a disputed offside call. Captain Reynolds spoke softly into his radio. Request distraction protocol at the official's room. Need 30 seconds. Copy that, Tate. Tate responded. Distraction incoming. Within less than a minute, a security officer approached the official's room from the main corridor, knocking urgently. Gentlemen, we need an immediate clarification for the VR team. There's a technical issue with the goal review. As the officials followed the security officer toward the main VAR station, Isaac took advantage of the diversion. While Dash monitored his progress, he entered the now vacant room, swiftly found the game ball, and conducted a quick inspection. Visually, the ball appeared standard. However, when Isaac applied slight pressure to certain areas, he observed an anomaly. The ball's surface responded differently compared to typical equipment. As he ran his fingers across the seams, he discovered a nearly imperceptible alteration, a section that had been skillfully resealed. Aaron, he murmured into his radio. I possessed the ball. There was clearly something contained within. It had been altered by professionals. Acting swiftly, Isaac made a small cut along an existing seam. Looking inside, He observed what seemed to be a tightly wrapped package fastened to the inner bladder. "We have contraband," he confirmed. He exchanged the suspicious ball with an identical one from team equipment stock and exited the room just before the officials returned. Within the security command post, Technical Officer Zhang examined the ball. The image displayed on the screen prompted silence among those present. The X-ray showed a complex alteration to the ball's internal design, a refined cavity situated between the synthetic leather exterior and the internal bladder. High-grade synthetic opioids were indicated by the density pattern, Zhang verified, adjusting the image to highlight specific regions. The skill of the construction is truly impressive. Observe how they've redistributed the weight to maintain proper flight characteristics. The ball would bounce, spin, and travel identically to an unmodified one. He pointed to several specific features on the screen. Note these reinforcement structures. Carbon fiber elements were included to maintain ball integrity during play, and this secondary bladder ensures proper inflation pressure despite the reduced air volume. This was not some rushed amateur job. This is a highly sophisticated undertaking, Aaron observed, examining the image with increasing worry. They would require specialized equipment, Zhang clarified. This included industrial-grade heat welding tools, precision cutting implements, and likely custom molds to maintain the spherical shape's integrity. We are discussing an operation demanding substantial resources and technical skills, he continued. And the drugs themselves? Captain Reynolds asked. Zhang explained that the synthetic opioids were in a crystalline form, specially processed to eliminate scent markers typically identified by canines. This is why standard security protocols failed to detect them. He estimated a street value of at least $3 million for this quantity, including impurities. Not just any game ball, Captain Reynolds observed, his face serious. The one certain to be broadcast on national television for 2 hours, handled exclusively by officials and players, and considered entirely beyond reproach, the ideal Trojan horse. As the second half approached, Isaac felt the familiar tension of a major operation developing. The maintenance worker is just one piece, he stated. There has to be a larger network. The coordinated takedown began with practiced precision. Plainclothes officers moved simultaneously throughout the stadium, closing in on identified suspects with minimal disruption. Most fans remained focused on the match, completely unaware of the operation unfolding around them. As a Chicago striker nearly scored again, Isaac and Dash moved toward the maintenance worker, using the enthusiastic crowd for concealment. "Marcus Elroy," Isaac stated softly, positioning himself next to the man. "Chicago PD, please place your hands where I can see them." Elroy paused briefly, his gaze flickering between Isaac and Dash as he assessed the situation. "I don't know what you're talking about," Elroy mumbled, subtly adjusting his position toward the exit. "I work here. We have already obtained both packages," Isaac responded calmly. "The operation is complete." The reference to both packages produced a noticeable reaction on Elroy's face. They had located not only the ball but also a secondary strategy. The situation hung precariously for a brief moment. Then Elroy decided, pushing a nearby food cart into Isaac's path and fleeing toward the service tunnel. Isaac reported into his radio, already in pursuit with Dash leading the way, as a suspect fled east through the service tunnel. The service tunnels beneath the stadium formed a confusing labyrinth of corridors, with a canine in pursuit. While Elroy might know the layout, he couldn't outpace a trained police dog. Dash moved with fluid speed, turning corners with precision and driving forward with single-minded focus. "I've got the exit covered," Aaron's voice came through Isaac's earpiece. "That route is blocked." Elroy forced his way through a pair of double doors and into a spacious equipment room, toppling shelving units in an attempt to delay his pursuers. The loud noise of the falling metal and plastic made for a confusing and difficult path, yet Dash's training allowed him to overcome it. The shepherd jumped over a collapsing cabinet, avoided a suspended electrical conduit, and continued the chase with unwavering focus. Isaac kept pace, his extensive physical training enabling him to move through the chaos while maintaining visual contact with his partner. The suspect arrived at a junction of corridors, pausing briefly, which allowed Dash to shorten the distance to just a few yards. Recognizing the dog was closing in, Elroy's desperation became apparent. He seized a rolling cart and pushed it straight into Dash's path. The shepherd easily avoided the obstacle, maintaining his speed with powerful, efficient strides. "Chicago PD, stop or I'll release the dog," Isaac announced, delivering the necessary caution. Elroy looked over his shoulder, his face etched with panic as he understood he couldn't escape the chase. As the suspect seized a metal pipe from a maintenance rack and turned to strike, Isaac gave a clear instruction. "Dash, stop." The German shepherd moved swiftly, resembling a furry projectile, focusing on Elroy's arm with the accuracy developed through extensive training. His jaws secured the suspect's wrist with a measured grip, sufficient to restrain without inflicting significant harm. The pipe fell to the floor as Elroy exclaimed in surprise and discomfort, the metallic sound reverberating through the service corridor. "Police on the ground," Isaac instructed, drawing his weapon as he advanced. Dash held firm, his years of preparation clear in his controlled composure. With his unoccupied hand, Elroy retrieved an item from his pocket. Isaac grew apprehensive, but the individual produced a compact remote device instead of a weapon. "Call off your dog, or I'm activating the third package," Elroy warned, his finger positioned over a button. "You believe you've located everything? There's enough fentanyl in the third one to endanger half the VIP section if it's released." "Dash, release," Isaac ordered. The shepherd followed the instruction, retreating 2 steps while staying between Elroy and the exit. Elroy's thumb moved towards the button. In that brief moment, Isaac needed to make a vital decision: shoot Elroy and risk him activating the device as he fell, or rely on Dash's training for a more accurate response. "Dash, take." The command was hardly spoken before the shepherd surged forward with impressive speed, focusing on Elroy's wrist with exact accuracy. The German shepherd's jaws closed around the suspect's hand, applying enough pressure to force his fingers open without causing fractures. The device fell to the floor. Isaac moved in immediately, securing Elroy while kicking the remote device to a safe distance. "Suspect in custody," he reported via radio. "Be advised, the suspect claims a third package is located somewhere in the VIP section, potentially rigged for dispersal." With the arrival of additional officers to apprehend Elroy, it was revealed that his warning regarding a third package was a fabrication, a last-ditch effort to gain advantage during his arrest. The Security Command Center was now filled with activity as the complete nature of the operation came to light. Suspects, identified via Elroy's phone records, had been discreetly arrested across the stadium. The soccer match displayed on the monitors progressed, with Chicago holding a lead of 3-1 and 15 minutes left on the clock. Captain Reynolds briefed the assembled team leaders, noting that 6 suspects were in custody. 2 packages containing roughly 5 kilograms of synthetic opioids had been secured, with a street value estimated at just over $4 million. Chief Williams considered the information, then issued his directive. The match should continue, maintain a heightened security presence, but ensure it remains unobtrusive. Work with stadium staff to put crowd management measures in place for standard postgame departures. As Isaac returned to his post with Dash, the stadium erupted in cheers. Chicago had scored again, securing their championship victory. The celebration provided ideal cover for the final phase of the operation as remaining suspects were identified and apprehended throughout the venue. The following morning, Isaac arrived at the precinct to find Chief Williams waiting in the briefing room with Captain Reynolds and several officials he didn't recognize. Dash padded beside him, sensing the significance of the meeting in his handler's body language. "Officer Tate," Williams greeted him with unusual formality. "These gentlemen are from the DEA and Homeland Security. They'd like to hear about yesterday's operation directly from you." The subsequent hour was dedicated to detailing the events, beginning with Dash's first warning and culminating in the synchronized operation. The federal agents listened carefully, sometimes asking about particular aspects of the smuggling technique. "The level of technical skill is what worries us the most," explained Agent Donovan from the DEA. The ball had been expertly altered with a hidden seam that would have been practically impossible to detect using routine security procedures. The internal bladder underwent redesign to accommodate the package while preserving proper inflation pressure and bounce characteristics. "Information received from the suspects has already proven valuable," Captain Reynolds announced. Elroy activated his contacts upon learning about the additional charges. We are coordinating with departments in 3 states for simultaneous raids later today. Following the briefing, a press conference was held in front of headquarters. The commissioner described the operation in measured language, highlighting public safety and avoiding specifics that could hinder current inquiries. The commissioner then stated, "I'd now like to introduce Officer Isaac Tate and his canine partner, Dash, the team responsible for the initial detection that enabled this operation." A reporter from the Tribune posed the key question. "Officer Tate, we've been informed that your canine alerted to something that security screening overlooked. What prompted you to follow his indication despite supervisor's initial dismissal?" Isaac hesitated, formulating his response thoughtfully. "In the 4 years together, Dash has never been incorrect when he alerts to something, not once. Our partnership functions on mutual trust. When he indicates something is amiss, I have faith in him, even when I cannot perceive the issue myself." That afternoon, as the workday concluded, Supervisor Reeves came to Isaac's desk. "Officer Tate," Reeves began, appearing uneasy, "I owe you an apology. Initially, I disregarded your report regarding Dash's alert, considering it an excessive response. Had I heeded you at first, we might have resolved the matter more quickly." In the parking lot, away from onlookers, Isaac permitted himself a brief feeling of justified pride. He knelt beside his partner, gently stroking the fur around Dash's neck and offering the sincere fondness that existed apart from their professional bond. "You were incredible yesterday," he told Dash softly. "Truly incredible. I understand you aren't concerned with press conferences or stylish uniforms. You were simply performing your duty, correct?" Dash's tail moved slightly, his brown eyes locking with Isaac's, reflecting the strong connection that had defined their partnership from the start. Leaving the precinct, Isaac considered how what began as a standard security detail had evolved into a pivotal operation for them both. If successful, the smuggling attempt would have created a route for illicit narcotics to reach communities in several states. The resulting harm to people would have been devastating, all averted thanks to a single determined dog's persistent barking at a soccer ball. Have you ever observed an animal detecting something that humans didn't notice? A remarkable instance occurred during a championship soccer game when a police dog named Dash persistently barked at a game ball that appeared normal. Officer Isaac Tate, Dash's handler, was presented with a challenging decision. Should he disregard his partner's reaction as a misjudgment or rely on the instincts that had proven reliable throughout their 4 years together? What action would you have taken if you were Officer Tate? How do you find the strength to uphold your beliefs when those nearby question them? Or, for example, the persistent barking of your canine companion? We are intrigued by the unique relationship between working dogs and their handlers. Have you ever seen this remarkable connection between a working dog and their handler? Or have you experienced a comparable bond with your own pet? Many of us have accounts of animals detecting danger before humans could recognize it. From dogs alerting to health emergencies to pets behaving strangely before natural disasters, what experiences have you had with animals detecting things beyond human senses? Share your stories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this incredible story of Dash's remarkable detection abilities, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly releases featuring the extraordinary achievements of police canines around the world. Please share this video with friends who value the exceptional abilities of working dogs and the committed officers who work alongside them. View our past stories about canine heroes, which are currently showing, including the inspiring story of a bloodhound that located a lost child across many miles of wilderness, and the bomb detection dog who secured a hospital during a critical threat. Each canine possesses a distinctive story of bravery, intelligence, and steadfast loyalty. A service dog barked continuously at a stroller in a busy mall. The mother became angry, security was summoned, and shoppers grew frustrated. But when the blanket was finally removed, what they witnessed moved the entire crowd to tears. Before we begin today's story, please leave a comment below indicating your location. And if you enjoy heartwarming stories about police dogs like this one, remember to subscribe. Prepare for what's about to unfold. The Westfield Shopping Center was filled with the usual weekend shopping activity. Families with strollers filled with bags, Teenagers gathered around the food court, and a continuous blend of 1,000 conversations filled the space under the large glass ceiling. Afternoon sunlight shone through the skylights, creating warm areas on the polished tile floors as shoppers moved through the busy walkways between stores. Jessica Winters navigated the Saturday crowd with a practiced and efficient manner, her steps deliberate and measured. Beside her walked Echo, a Belgian Malinois wearing a professional red service vest with medical alert patches. Unlike the hurried shoppers who bumped shoulders and moved around each other, Echo moved with military precision, maintaining a perfect heel position despite the chaos, his attentive brown eyes occasionally glancing up at Jessica's face to check her status. "Excuse me, please," Jessica said as they moved past a group of teenagers who had stopped suddenly to take selfies in front of a clothing display. She kept her right hand lightly on Echo's specialized mobility harness, not because she required the physical support that day, but because the connection helped her feel stable amidst the overwhelming sights and sounds of the mall. The holiday decorations had already been put up, even though Thanksgiving was still 2 weeks away. Large silver and red decorations were suspended from the ceiling, and artificial pine garlands adorned the railings of the second-floor walkways. A faint piano version of Winter Wonderland played from afar, struggling to be heard over the noise of the crowd, the sounds of conversations, squeaking stroller wheels, and periodic announcements from the mall's public address system. Jessica glanced at her watch. It was 2:17 p.m. She had planned this trip carefully, arriving after the lunch rush but before the evening crowd descended. Her mental checklist was almost finished. New running shoes, the birthday gift for her niece, and one more stop at the bookstore to pick up the novel her book club was reading next. Then she could return to the quiet sanctuary of her apartment before the familiar tension in her shoulders escalated into a full-blown anxiety attack. Echo stayed calm and composed, his training clearly visible in his deliberate actions. He didn't behave like typical dogs who might investigate spilled food or react to appealing smells. Instead, he concentrated entirely on Jessica and any possible dangers to her safety. When a young child unexpectedly cried at a store called Toyland, Echo quickly assessed Jessica's response, prepared to offer deep pressure therapy should the noise upset her. Fortunately, this was a positive day. Jessica reacted with a slight flinch, then proceeded walking with a deep breath. The central court of the mall appeared before them, a circular space featuring a decorative fountain and benches for weary shoppers to rest. Jessica guided them toward the quieter path along the perimeter, avoiding the congested group of people observing a weekend product demonstration. Echo modified his speed seamlessly, guiding their path as though he and Jessica functioned as one unit within the crowd, their synchronicity stemming from countless hours of shared experience. Jessica had not always required Echo's presence. 5 years ago, she was Staff Sergeant Jessica Winters, a combat medic with the 4th Infantry Division, recognized for maintaining remarkable composure amidst the most severe mass casualty events. She had treated wounded soldiers under fire, stabilized blast injuries in helicopters, and once performed an emergency airway procedure during a sandstorm with almost zero visibility. Her commanding officers had described her as unshakable. Then occurred the roadside bomb outside Kandahar. Jessica had been the first to respond, treating 3 critically wounded soldiers while awaiting medevac. She had rescued all 3, but the 4th, her closest friend on the deployment, had died despite her desperate efforts. The consequences were stark: traumatic brain injury, shrapnel wounds to her left leg, and the unseen wounds of PTSD that ultimately proved more debilitating than her physical injuries. Returning to civilian life had become a minefield of triggers. Crowds, sudden noises, certain smells that instantly transported her back to the worst moments of her service. She explored therapy, medication, and support groups, but none provided complete relief until the VA's service dog program paired her with Echo 3 years ago. Echo was a unique service dog. This Belgian Malinois had been removed from a military working dog program, not due to a lack of skill, but because of his gentle nature, a characteristic that made him ideally suited for medical alert duties. His specialized training encompassed recognizing the minute biochemical alterations that foreshadow Jessica's panic attacks and seizures, a complication stemming from her TBI that occurred infrequently but posed a significant risk. "He is observing your body chemistry," the trainer had clarified during their placement. variations in your respiration, minuscule perspiration, and even alterations in your walk that you won't perceive deliberately. Echo will provide a warning before you are even aware of an issue. Their bond had developed past the boundaries of training. Echo possessed a remarkable skill in evaluating risks in Jessica's surroundings, differentiating between minor anxieties and real threats. He would position his body to shield Jessica from anything potentially triggering, whether approaching strangers or sudden movements, while largely remaining unnoticed during everyday interactions. Above all, Echo had restored Jessica's independence. Prior to this, she had rarely left her apartment, neglecting medical appointments and withdrawing from friends and family. Currently, she volunteers twice weekly at the VA hospital, has restarted her nursing education, and can navigate public spaces like this mall, still challenging but achievable with Echo's consistent support and alerting abilities. Many people didn't realize that beneath Echo's calm professional appearance lay a dog capable of detecting incredibly small chemical shifts, changes undetectable by human senses or medical instruments. His alerts stemmed not only from excellent training, but also from a complex biological detection system combined with steadfast loyalty. Jessica directed Echo towards the central court fountain, intending to cross over to reach the bookstore on the opposite side. As they walked past a row of benches near the fountain, Echo's demeanor shifted, his ears pricked forward, his head lifted slightly higher, and his gait lost its fluid rhythm for a brief moment. Jessica noticed it instantly, having spent 3 years together. Even the slightest changes in Echo's behavior registered like alarm bells. "What is it, buddy?" she murmured, scanning the area for potential triggers. Echo's attention had fixed on something ahead and to their right. Jessica's attention followed his gaze to a navy blue stroller situated next to a bench. A woman, seemingly in her 30s and with dark hair styled in a loose bun, was organizing shopping bags nearby. The baby in the stroller seemed to be sleeping calmly under a thin blanket featuring cartoon elephants. Jessica softly adjusted Echo's harness, trying to get his attention. "Come on, focus." However, instead of following her instruction, Echo's body became even more rigid. A soft whine came from him, a sound Jessica had seldom heard from her well-trained service dog. Echo moved closer to the stroller, abandoning his heel position for the first time in public that Jessica could recall. "Echo, heel," Jessica instructed more sternly, feeling a blush rise on her cheeks as a nearby elderly couple looked in their direction. Service dogs were meant to be unobtrusive in public spaces. That was the expectation. Echo had never deviated from protocol in this way before. The dog obeyed with evident hesitation, returning to her side while still watching the stroller. After 3 more steps, Echo stopped abruptly, firmly placing his feet and declining to budge from the stroller's line of sight. "Is something the matter with your dog?" the mother inquired, observing Echo's focused attention. Her voice carried a trace of irritation as she looked between her shopping bags and the service dog. "I'm sorry," Jessica started, but Echo interrupted her apology with a quick, forceful bark that resonated across the central court. People shopping turned towards the sound, their faces showing a mix of curiosity and disapproval. "Control your dog, please," the mother stated, her annoyance now clear. "You're frightening my baby." However, the baby hadn't moved at the loud bark, a detail that Jessica's training immediately recognized as odd. Typically, sleeping infants would react with a start to such a sound. Echo barked once more, then again, his barks becoming increasingly urgent. It wasn't aggression. Jessica understood Echo's behaviors completely. It was an alert, mirroring the pattern he exhibited when sensing a potential medical crisis. "Ma'am, I believe," Jessica began, but the mother interrupted her. "Service dogs shouldn't bark in public," the woman retorted, rising and moving defensively toward her stroller. "You need to leave." 2 mall security guards, both wearing navy blue uniforms, moved towards the disturbance. The taller guard, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair, and a name tag identifying him as Wilson, spoke to Jessica. "Ma'am, we've received reports of your dog causing a disturbance for shoppers. Is everything all right?" Echo continued to bark, pulling towards the stroller with unusual focus. Jessica felt as though many people were watching her, judging, and presuming she lacked control over her service dog. The demands to apologize and depart were intense, yet Echo's actions conveyed a contrasting message, one that years of collaboration had shown her to be reliable in interpreting. "My service dog is medically trained," Jessica stated, working to maintain a composed tone. "He is specifically alerting to something concerning regarding that baby. This isn't typical behavior for him." The second security guard, a younger woman with her hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, approached the mother. "Ma'am, would you please check on your child, just to be cautious?" "This is absurd," the mother protested. "She's fine. Simply taking her afternoon nap. I'm only shopping for less than an hour." Wilson frowned, visibly uneasy with the circumstances. "Ma'am," he addressed Jessica, "service animals are not permitted to be disruptive in public spaces. Mall policy dictates that." "I'm aware of mall policy," Jessica responded, her voice revealing the influence of her military training. Echo wasn't issuing this alert arbitrarily. He was detecting a medically significant issue. Echo had now activated his complete medical alert sequence, sitting stiffly, vocalizing with a characteristic 3 barks, then pawing the ground. This was the same pattern he exhibited when identifying Jessica's rare seizures in advance, a behavior that had prevented serious injury on multiple occasions. "Look," Jessica stated, referencing her medical experience, "I served as a combat medic." Echo is programmed to recognize specific medical crises. There's an issue with that baby, and each moment we spend debating could be critical. Jessica initially encountered Echo on a rainy Tuesday at the Patriot Service Dogs Training Center in Colorado, recently completing intensive therapy and still using a cane for her left leg. She initially doubted a dog could achieve what medication and counseling had not. Instead of the warm welcome Jessica anticipated, Echo approached her cautiously, deliberately sniffing her hands, her legs, and her breath. He then settled directly in front of her, his eyes fixed on her face as if committing every detail to memory. The turning point in their partnership occurred 3 months into their training. Their initial period had presented difficulties. Jessica's fluctuating symptoms required Echo to identify patterns that even medical devices sometimes failed to detect. The team utilized scent samples gathered during Jessica's pre-seizure states, anxiety attacks, and normal days to train Echo to distinguish between them. Subsequently, one evening, while Jessica was having coffee with her roommate, Echo abruptly initiated his alert behavior, remaining rigid, emitting 3 distinct barks, then pawing the ground. Jessica felt well and initially attributed it to a training mistake. "Echo, settle," she commanded. Instead of following instructions, Echo had turned to her roommate, Diane, repeating the alert pattern with increasing urgency. "Maybe he needs to go out?" Diane suggested, rising. She had taken 2 steps when she collapsed to the floor. Paramedics later confirmed she had experienced a dangerous blood sugar crash that could have resulted in a coma if she had been alone. Echo hadn't been alerting for Jessica at all. He recognized Diane's declining glucose levels, a condition she hadn't received a diagnosis for at that time. Following that day, Jessica's faith in Echo became unwavering. Whenever he provided an alert, she responded, irrespective of whether she experienced any symptoms herself. That established history of trust is what provided Jessica with the assurance to maintain her position now. Although met with skeptical looks and the mother's initial hesitation, Echo had gained her confidence through demonstrated dependability, and she was committed to supporting his warning, regardless of any awkwardness. A small group of people had assembled, whispering amongst themselves. An older woman approached. "Perhaps you should examine the baby, dear. It's better to be cautious." The mother's certainty lessened a little as she looked at her child, who remained perfectly still. She claimed to be a deep sleeper, but a note of doubt entered her voice. "Your baby hasn't reacted to any sounds," Jessica remarked gently. Not even a flinch at Echo's barking. That wasn't typical behavior for an infant. The mother's face changed as she processed this. She turned to the stroller, her shoulders showing strain. "Please, please," Jessica said, her voice becoming more gentle. "Echo has never been incorrect about a medical alert. Not in 3 years. My concern for your daughter prompted my request." The security guards looked at each other, appearing uncertain about the appropriate procedure for this uncommon circumstance. Wilson approached the stroller. "Ma'am, May we briefly examine the situation? He asked. Then everyone can resume their activities. The mother paused, then agreed, moving towards the stroller. Very well. I'll demonstrate that she is simply sleeping, and then I anticipate an apology. Jessica remained behind, ensuring Echo stayed calm as the mother bent over the stroller and carefully pulled back the blanket with the elephant design. The woman's annoyed look quickly changed, and color left her face. Madison, she said, her voice growing louder. When the baby didn't react, she touched her daughter's cheek. Madison, wake up, baby. The security guard stepped forward instantly as the mother's voice rose to panic. She's not waking up. Tears streamed down her face as she desperately unfastened the stroller's buckles. If something's wrong, please help. Wilson quickly radioed for medical help, and his partner assisted the mother in lifting the unresponsive infant from the stroller. The baby's lips were slightly bluish, and while her chest rose with shallow breaths, she didn't respond to her mother's increasingly frantic efforts to rouse her. I'm a former combat medic, Jessica stated, stepping forward with composure. Can I assist while we await medical personnel? The mother nodded vigorously, tears running down her face as Jessica drew near. Echo remained calm, his earlier urgent alerting now replaced by watchful observation. Jessica assessed the baby's vital signs with practiced skill. She is breathing, but it's shallow. Pulse is detectable but weak. Jessica turned to the mother. Has Madison been unwell recently? Are there any existing medical concerns? No, nothing, the mother responded, stammering. During her routine checkup last week, everything was perfect. She simply fell asleep while shopping. An older man then approached from the assembled group. I'm Dr. Brenner, a pediatrician, he stated. May I examine her? With the mother's consent, the doctor rapidly assessed the infant. Pupils are responsive but sluggish, he observed. Temperature appears normal. He turned to Jessica and spoke softly. This looks neurological. How long has she been unresponsive? I don't know, the mother cried. She fell asleep approximately 40 minutes ago. She typically sleeps soundly during shopping trips. The movement of the stroller. Her voice faltered as the realization struck her. Oh God, has she been like this the entire time? I believed she was simply sleeping. Mall medical staff arrived with a first aid kit and oxygen. Shortly after, paramedics navigated the crowd with a gurney and pediatric medical equipment. Service dogs signaled to the baby. Dr. Brenner briefed the paramedics. The infant is unresponsive, but breathing. Possible neurological event is suspected. As the paramedics commenced their assessment, the lead EMT observed Echo, a Belgian Malinois medical alert dog. These dogs are remarkable scent detectors. Last year, we had one alert to a carbon monoxide victim who exhibited no visible symptoms. Their olfactory capabilities are extraordinary, Dr. Brenner stated, watching Echo with renewed respect. Certain studies indicate they can identify molecular changes at concentrations as low as parts per trillion. Finding it is comparable to locating a single drop of blood within 20 Olympic swimming pools. The medical uses are still being explored, especially for illnesses where early diagnosis significantly enhances results. Ramirez nodded as he secured a pulse oximeter to Madison's small finger. He had observed dogs detecting seizures prior to clinical signs, identifying malignancies before scans could, and even forecasting cardiac events. This little one is lucky that you and your partner were present today. Amber Parker, holding her daughter's hand, whispered, Your dog knew. How could he possibly know when I didn't? The paramedics responded with practice speed, securing the infant to the pediatric backboard and connecting monitoring devices. Paramedic Ramirez examined the readings, his expression concerned. Oxygen saturation is lower than I'd like, he observed, placing a small oxygen mask over Madison's face. These readings indicate potential seizure activity, though without convulsions. We are considering the possibility of absence seizures or a postictal state. What does that mean? Will she be all right? Amber asked, holding her daughter's hand. We need to transfer her to Children's Hospital for a definitive diagnosis, Ramirez stated. Fortunately, we are identifying this early, preventing potential oxygen deprivation that could cause harm. While a female paramedic was rechecking Madison's vital signs, she paused. moving closer to observe something. Ms. Parker, has Madison received any medications recently? The paramedic inquired. No, none, Amber replied. She has never taken medication. The paramedic indicated faint markings on the inner side of Madison's elbow. These appear to be injection sites, but they are very small, the type we sometimes see with specific medical tests. Amber stated, with evident confusion, that the only injection her child had received was for routine vaccinations during the checkup last week. Dr. Brenner examined the marks and frowned. He noted that these were more recent than a week ago and did not align with typical vaccination injections. Echo immediately became alert, focusing intently on the diaper bag hanging from the stroller handle. Jessica recognized this particular behavior. Echo had identified something significant. "Ma'am," Jessica said cautiously, "would you mind if we examined Madison's diaper bag? Echo is signaling something within." Amber agreed promptly. Any prior doubts disappeared. Naturally, anything that could assist. Security Officer Wilson took the bag, and Jessica directed Echo through a methodical scent examination. The dog quickly pinpointed a side pocket, persistently nudging it with his nose, employing the method he uses for identifying substances. Within the pocket, a small medicine bottle was discovered, labeled as infant acetaminophen, though the security seal was broken and the bottle was only half full. "I didn't place that there," Amber stated, her face growing paler. "That's not our brand, and Madison hasn't required any pain medication." Ramirez carefully placed the bottle in an evidence bag. "We'll have this analyzed at the hospital. It's possible it contains another substance or has been altered." The second paramedic spoke with urgency. "Madison's oxygen levels are decreasing. Immediate transport is required." As preparations began to move Madison, Echo whimpered gently and rested his head against Jessica's leg. This was his way of indicating that his task was complete. He had identified the underlying issue well before human observation of the symptoms, potentially averting a significantly more severe outcome. "Your dog is remarkable," Dr. Brenner told Jessica as the paramedics began moving the gurney. "For 30 years, I have worked in pediatrics, and I observed no outward signs of distress in that child. Yet, he recognized the situation instantly." Amber, accompanying the gurney, glanced back at Jessica. "Thank you," she said, tears flowing down her face. "I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. If you hadn't insisted." She was unable to complete the sentence. "Thank Echo," Jessica responded quietly. "He is the hero here." The Central Court had been converted into a temporary command center. Police officers arrived soon after Madison was transported, establishing a perimeter around the stroller. A bottle from the diaper bag was now considered evidence in what the lead detective described as a possible instance of intentional drugging. Echo remained composed beside Jessica as she provided her statement to Detective Portman, a woman with a serious expression and kind eyes who documented every aspect of Echo's warning actions with considerable interest. According to Portman, the dog identified a problem with the child prior to any outward signs of illness. Jessica corroborated this, confirming that Echo possesses specialized scent detection training for medical emergencies. He is capable of identifying chemical alterations within the body that signify specific medical occurrences. Jessica further stated that Echo specifically indicated the diaper bag after the child received treatment. She explained that he exhibits distinct alert patterns depending on the circumstances. His actions concerning the bag indicate he perceived a substance present, rather than solely a medical issue. Portman added another notation. "Ms. Parker stated the baby had a checkup last week. We are investigating who may have accessed the child or her belongings since that time." Wilson arrived accompanied by the mall manager, a tense woman wearing a charcoal suit, who identified herself as Diane Reynolds. "Ms. Winters," Reynolds stated, "I want to express my sincere gratitude to you and your service dog for your actions today. Our security team will be reviewing our protocols concerning service animal alerts." She looked at Wilson, who appeared suitably concerned. "We recognize there are some areas where we need to improve our training." Echo was simply performing his trained tasks, Jessica responded. Wilson added, "The hospital contacted us with an update. The baby is showing signs of stabilization. Medical tests were underway, but the doctor mentioned that a further delay in treatment could have had serious consequences, then stopped speaking, leaving the meaning unstated. A young woman who had been shopping in the vicinity approached cautiously. "I filmed what occurred using my phone," she stated. "I didn't mean to be odd, but my brother is applying to service dog programs, and I wish to demonstrate how they function in public settings." She then asked if the footage would be beneficial to the police. Detective Portman promptly collected the woman's contact details. "That could be extremely valuable evidence, thank you." As the crowd gradually dispersed, an elderly man approached Jessica. "Young lady, I want you to know I've contacted the local news. People need to hear about this, not just about the unfortunate situation with the baby, but about the incredible work service dogs like yours perform." Jessica experienced a moment of worry regarding potential media coverage, but Echo instinctively leaned against her leg, offering the calming pressure that helped manage her nervous system. She inhaled deeply, concentrating on the most important aspects. Madison was undergoing treatment, an inquiry was in progress, and Echo had performed as he was trained. The police concluded securing the area while Jessica and Echo were readying to depart. Officer Wilson approached them at the mall entrance. He offered a sincere apology to both of us. 20 years in security and I've never seen anything like what your dog did today," he said. "If we'd followed protocol and asked you to leave," he shook his head, expressing gratitude for your resolve. As Jessica and Echo walked through the parking lot toward her car, the adrenaline from the incident began to fade, leaving her physically drained but mentally clear. She stopped beside her SUV, kneeling down to bring herself eye level with her partner. "You did good, buddy," she whispered, gently stroking Echo's face and neck. "Really good." Echo's perceptive eyes stayed focused on hers, his expression reflecting complete satisfaction now that his task was finished. He moved closer, touching his forehead against Jessica's in the familiar gesture they frequently shared following challenging situations. Jessica reflected on how she almost questioned Echo due to societal expectations, the looks, the security personnel, the mother's initial displeasure. Apologizing and leaving would have been simpler, attributing Echo's behavior to a temporary lapse. The pressure of public opinion had nearly eclipsed years of collaboration and mutual trust, but Echo remained unwavering, continuing until someone acknowledged his perspective. His conviction prevented a child from a situation paramedics believed could have been intentional drugging. The realization sent a shiver down Jessica's spine, even under the warmth of the afternoon sun. As Jessica started the engine, a text from her VA counselor appeared on her phone. It referenced the news alert about a service dog saving a baby at Westfield. Could that have been Echo and her? The counselor suggested she call if she needed support following the event. News spread rapidly. By tomorrow, reporters would likely be calling, potentially requesting interviews. Ordinarily, this would cause a surge of anxiety, but surprisingly, it felt different this time. Sharing their experiences might help people recognize the crucial role service dogs play, not only in assisting their handlers, but also in safeguarding the broader community. Echo relaxed into his seat, his alert stance softening into a calm watchfulness, ever prepared but no longer sensing immediate threats. Jessica met his look in the rearview mirror, feeling a wave of thankfulness for this remarkable animal who had profoundly changed her life and now had protected someone else. Believe in your dog. This was the initial instruction in service dog training, the basis for all subsequent commands. Recent events had demonstrated why this belief wasn't merely training protocol, but significant insight. Occasionally, a companion could detect things beyond human perception and human assessment. Occasionally, trust meant the difference between a disaster and a fortunate outcome. Have you ever observed an instance where an animal detected something humans entirely overlooked? What accounts for some animals' remarkable ability to sense medical emergencies even before symptoms are apparent? Would you have believed a service dog's alert regarding a stranger's baby, despite the potential for embarrassment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories of heroic service animals. Click the bell icon to receive notifications when we upload new videos each week. Please share this video with friends and family who value the special connection between people and their service animals. Watch our previous stories about canine heroes now, and tune in tomorrow at the same time for another inspiring story you won't want to miss.